Hey everyone, you're listening to Midlife Matters. I'm Marie, and each week I'm joined by my friends Julie and Mindy to talk about all the topics keeping women in the middle years up at night. This week we're celebrating Valentine's Day. Is it a holiday made up by the greeting card companies? Does it count if you celebrate the day before or the day after? Can we still play the Newlywed game after a couple decades of marriage? Love's a funny thing, and we hope this episode brings a smile to your face. Let's get started. Good morning, ladies. It's so good to see you.
Good morning.
Hey, great to see you.
I'm excited about today's episode because we're recording just a completely fun one, Valentine's Day.
For the seasoned married person, right?
I know. Well, and hasn't Valentine's Day preparation kind of already entered your mind? You're like, well, are we doing anything this year? Should I buy something? What would I buy? Is Steve even going to be in town? Which I think he might be coming home later on that afternoon, but you know what I mean.
We finally just decided a few years ago, we're just not going to do anything.
Ever?
You can go out to eat any night. Like, why go out on the most crowded night of the year?
Well, I see that.
Like, we can just do it anytime.
That's exactly how we feel. We're like, what? The 14th is not when we're going out. We're going out on the 13th or the 15th.
Right.
That's a good point for sure. Well, anything exciting been happening with you guys this week before we get started?
Well, I have to tell you something that our family did, and I learned another thing about the difference between men and women this past weekend. We went to the YMCA as a family, and we were going to join the co-ed volleyball. So Bryce and I and Grant started playing. Well, I love to play volleyball, and I'm okay. I don't miss all of them. I miss some of them, like anybody else.
You're average.
I know. Yeah. Thanks, Julie. Yes. Okay. But I play to have a good time. Apparently men do not play that way.
Oh.
So I'm playing and, I make a mistake and I'm like, oh, my bad. Somebody hit it back there, and I'm laughing and I'm like, nobody else is laughing, So later, Bryce and Grant, they love to play and then critique each other. Mm. Oh, I could have done this better. You could have done that better. And then they turn to me. And they're like, you probably shouldn't be laughing so much because it's a little bit demeaning, like when you mess up. And then you start laughing. I was like, oh, really? Mm-hmm. So I just went and walked the track after that. And I just removed myself from the volleyball team. And I came back later, cheered them on. And then when it was all said and done, Bryce and Grant came over and they're like, we're really sorry. We know that, we want you to have fun. I said, look, I realize men and women play sports very differently. I'm having a great time. If that's not the purpose of the team, I should not be on it. And they said, well, we're sorry because we do enjoy being competitive. I'm like, I'm cool with that.
Oh.
Did they play with the girl rules? Like where a girl, if it's hit multiple times, a girl has to hit it before it goes over the net?
No, they weren't that specific.
Okay.
Yeah, that helps because then they have to set it to you,
Right. I was able to gracefully step out, and just cheer them on. But it was just really funny. Oh, okay, this is really different.
This is not going to be just for fun.
This is not backyard volleyball. That's my way.
Yeah. How about you,
find
Julie?
A mom's league.
And what's going on in your world? Are you almost done with your bathroom renovation?
Oh, yeah.
It seems to be crawling now, because it's more the things that take longer.
Yeah.
But it's looking good. We're excited, but it's probably still another 3 weeks.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow.
3 to 4.
Oh, wow.
Oh, no.
Okay. Well, you've probably come at least that far, so you could make it.
Yeah. It's going good. What about you?
This weekend was a big weekend for us. Julie and I, we helped host a bridal shower for a friend on Saturday afternoon, and then right afterwards, I met my girls over to get pictures for their freshman formal. They were excited about that, and my older daughter took their pictures, so that was a lot of fun. And because I was at the shower, she was able to do all their hair and makeup without me in the house, so I didn't have to hear any of the drama. And I'm sure there was some drama going on. 2 14-year-olds getting ready for a dance.
What a gift. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, so that was fun, and they had a great time, and I'm glad I got to do that.
They looked so
They did
beautiful.
look good.
Oh my goodness. I can't believe how much they've grown. They just look like ladies. I'm not
Oh.
used to that.
Well, thank you. I think everybody always looks so much more grown up dressed up. And it was really fun to
Yes.
see the other kids in their group dressed up too. It made
Right.
me want to get dressed up and go to a freshman formal.
There you go. I'm always willing to chaperone. I
You
tell
can
all of my
chaperone.
kids.
So we need to get started on all our fun Valentine's Day questions because Julie came up with ones that are similar to the Newlywed Game, and it was kind of hard to answer some of these. I had to bring Steve in just to find out
Yes.
what he thought.
Actually, me too. Well, not
I
Steve,
did
but
too.
Bryce.
Yeah, John goes, these questions are unanswerable. There just aren't any answers to these.
Yeah,
Yes, there
Bryce
are.
said that. Yeah, Bryce said the same thing about a couple of them.
Well, there
So-
are answers, but do you really want to share them with the
It's
public?
true. That's right. I know.
Or apparently your spouse.
So you guys, what is one thing your spouse does for you that they hate, but does because you love it?
Well, I know if we are out hiking, he is there for me. He doesn't hate it, but he would never choose to do that on his own.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So, and we were on a hike Saturday and I said, do you really like doing this? He said, well, it's not exactly what motivates me, but I'm happy to be here with you. And he's always
Aw.
glad that he went. Afterwards it was fine,
Right,
but he
right.
just wouldn't get up and go do that on his own.
yeah.
So I always appreciate it when we can do that together.
Oh, good for John.
that's
How
fun.
about
Yeah.
you, Mindy? What does Bryce do for you that he hates, but you love?
If we go bike riding, it's purely for me. He hates to bike ride.
I remember you saying that before. So that
Yes.
is something he does just for you.
That's right. How about you, Marie?
Well, Steve's love language is it acts of service? Is that the phrase? And so
Mhm.
he'll do a lot of things for me and other people just because they want him to. So I tried to narrow it down to something does he really hate? But when I asked him, he said, use words. Because my love language is words. And so he can do all these acts of
Okay.
service, but if he hasn't said I love you or said things, it just doesn't count in my mind. It's like they just flew right over my head. And his love
Aw.
language is not words. So he said he really has to stretch himself in that area.
That's so funny.
Yeah. All right. What's your spouse's most repeated phrase? And do you find this irritating?
I didn't have an answer for this.
No? He doesn't have any
No,
irritating
like-
phrases?
I couldn't. There was so many. No.
She hasn't been married long enough.
20 years is not enough to get
No.
annoyed.
No.
I can't think of because if it's annoyed me, I'm like, stop saying that. That's annoying. Like maybe he stopped and I can't remember.
Well, for Steve, I said, I don't like it when he says, I wouldn't worry about it. Oh, that drives me up a wall because I process things verbally and I need to talk it out. Me talking about it is not me worrying about it. It's me
Mhm.
processing it. And it's just like when someone tells you to relax. Well,
Oh.
have you ever relaxed
Calm
when
down.
someone told you to relax or calm down? That is not
No.
helpful.
Those
So-
are fighting words.
Yes. And plus, I probably am worried about it, but I don't want to be called out on it.
It's true.
Julie, what about you?
Well, there's two that come to mind. One, he says, I've got a million things to do. And I'm like, no, you have 8 things to do.
Oh.
Not a million. It just, I don't know. It's just, he gets really worked up when he gets over busy. And when he says that phrase, I guess I know there's a lot more behind it. So it just really annoys me.
Well, because he's probably implied that you're the one that gave him a million things to do.
Exactly.
Uh-oh.
Or I didn't finish some things. So now I've just added those to
Oh,
his
I didn't think
list,
about that.
maybe. Yeah. So that one's irritating. And then this one I've kind of grown to love and appreciate, and maybe our kids have too. But he goes, just because you got away with something doesn't mean you did it right. And
Mm.
when that comes in is like, if I did something and he thinks I didn't do it right,
Mhm.
I'll say, but nothing bad happened, or it turned out great. And that's when he'll throw that out. Like, you just got lucky.
Right. Well, that's
Yes, you're right. I
those
did.
are wise words, John, but
Yeah.
they might
Can
rub
be annoying.
people the wrong way. Actually, it sounds like something I would say to the members of my household, so I can sympathize with him.
Oh,
And actually, it's come true so many times. It's been proven true when I do things
yeah.
halfway or,
Right.
you know.
Right. All right, Mindy, since you didn't answer the last one, what is your definition of "and they lived happily ever after"?
I have a very simple answer for this, but it was the one thing that I thought of, and it's laughing. If you are still laughing together or at each other sometimes, that's okay too. After the kids have grown and you've gone through seasons of life together, to me, that's happily ever after.
That's a good one. How about you, Julie?
Living happily ever after is a choice. And happy, I think of, I'm happy to make this work with you, that I'm committed to continually working through difficulties and challenges. In it for the long haul, I'm not going to give up.
I put
You're
something
not going to do that halfway, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you can't do that halfway, Julie. It means they lived for the rest of their lives generally happy and looked back at the end happy with their choice.
We have such romantic answers.
I love it.
This is a realistic view of happily ever after 20, 25, 30 years of marriage.
Yes. Yes.
Listen up, college students.
Well, Mindy's still laughing, though.
Well, I mean, if you're happy with your choice, that means you're probably laughing still with the person.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
Okay, so here's a more serious one. What do you think is the most important part of the marriage to keep it stable?
To have a stable marriage, the people in it have to be stable. So I think to continually work on growing spiritually, individually, and then therefore, I think you'll benefit as a couple. Like to focus on your relationship with God to make that as good as it can be. Giving up your own will and plans for God's. And then I think though all the other things kind of fall more easily into place. Like marriage is really hard. So I can't imagine trying to be forgiving and humble and at peace and less anxious and self-sacrificing all on my own efforts. I think those aren't qualities that you can just muster up, or at least not for very long. You know, you may be able to do that for a little while. So I think just the love of Christ changing you, transforming you, then those qualities spill out into your marriage. So you have to work on you, not the other person.
I totally agree. That's actually very similar to my answer, that praying for your spouse and then praying about all the things that you struggle with, so that you do take everything to the Lord in prayer. And I have mentioned before that I have seen the Lord work through arguments and disagreements and seasons of hardship just by praying about those things, that he then gives the right words and the right even time to talk to my spouse about it. Putting God at the center of your relationship, not always reacting, but just keeping him first in everything.
So I didn't go quite so spiritual on that.
Well, good. Let's hear what you had to say.
All right. Well, I just think that one of the most important parts of keeping your marriage stable is spending time alone together. And I think that that's really easy to let go of. The busier you get, you know, as you have kids, as you have differing schedules, maybe one person travels, or maybe both people are employed by the time they get home. And you get dinner on the table, you get your kids in bed. Seriously, all you really want is a little bit of time to unwind or do something for yourself. It's really hard to say, all right, let's think of something that we enjoy doing together a couple times a week, or, you know, let's sit down and have a good conversation. I think just making it a priority to spend time together. I know that we have to keep that kind of at the forefront, because you can get really busy and leave that behind.
You're so right about that. And I know that there are times that it's like you can give your best for everybody else, and then you feel so comfortable with your spouse. You're like, look, I'm so tired. I really just need to have some alone time, or I need to go to bed. Instead of giving him your best too, you know, instead of also making him a priority. And that's something I've had to work on myself. So I'm actually glad you said that.
All right. So what's the strangest gift your spouse ever bought for you?
All right, I'm going first on this because it just happened.
Oh.
Okay. And it is the best gift though. Okay, for Christmas, I opened up this box. Bryce made me wait till the very end. And I opened up the box and it had my van key in it. I was like,
ooh.
What's like, yay, my minivan that I drive every day. But do you know what he did? I had been joking about how he was so lucky to have remote start on his car as the mornings got cold and it's icy and we're not parking in garages right now. He actually put remote start on my minivan, so I don't have to leave the apartment. Like I can just start it from the warmth of my own home instead of walking out there to start it, 15, 20 minutes before I'm supposed to go somewhere.
Oh, that's a great gift.
I love it every single day.
Yeah,
that's
bet.
unique.
Yes.
I didn't even know you could do that.
I didn't either. So, yeah, I'm rocking it out in my minivan.
Awesome. What strange things has John bought you, Julie?
Well, I was rocking it out on my riding lawnmower that I got for Mother's Day.
Was that this year? Or I guess it would have been last year now.
Oh, no, that was years ago.
Oh, okay.
That's awesome.
When we were even more newly married.
Did you ask for it?
Well, if you know me, I do most of the yard work, which I love to do. And when the kids were little, we would kind of fight over who got to mow the grass because it meant not staying inside with the kids.
True.
Right.
It's like, no, I want out there. You stay locked up with the kids.
Right.
In our first house, I'll never forget this. I was probably 7 or 8 months pregnant, definitely showing it in maternity clothes, trying to start the push mower, with the string that you pull out.
Right.
Had a lot of trouble starting it. And our neighbor across the street walked over. It was an older man. And he goes, "Oh, let me help you doing that. You shouldn't be doing that. Can I help you?" And I said, "No, I can go get John if I need help." I thought that man was going to kill John the next time he saw him, like that John's just in the house, doing nothing while I'm out cutting the grass. And it was just very hard to explain to somebody that this is what I wanted to do,
Right.
and that John was not putting this on me unfairly or whatever. So anyway, after that, I think John felt like, okay, I got to make this easier on her.
Well, and not only did the man have to watch you start the lawnmower, but then he would have had to watch you walk back and forth with a push mower.
Yeah.
7 months pregnant in the heat. Right. He was probably like, "That deadbeat husband."
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure he thought the worst of him.
Okay, we had the same thing happen. I was very pregnant and I wanted to mow the grass because it gave me a break from, the other kids. Mm-hmm. But yeah, some people drove by and Bryce was like, "Honey, you can never do that again." I have heard about it from all the neighbors. He's like, "I know you like it. Maybe stick in the backyard where the privacy fence is."
Yeah. Right. True.
So one of the strangest things that Steve ever gave me was a plaid scarf. When we were dating, he had asked me for a list of possible things that he could get me for Christmas. So I gave him, I don't even remember anything else that was on the list, but I'll say there were 7 or 8 things. So anyways, when I opened up all my Christmas presents that year, he had gotten every single thing on the list. Aww. And when I opened up the scarf, I thought, well, it is a scarf because I had asked for a scarf. We lived in snowy New York State, and I really needed one. But it did not match my coat, which is a big deal for women. It was red and black plaid, and I had like a maroon winter coat. So they just weren't going to go together. And I thought, well, I'm not going to say anything. So I just never really wore it. And then I think I just put it at the bottom of all the snow gear. And after we had then gotten married, I think he saw it one time and he was like, I noticed you never wore this scarf. And I'm like, "Oh, I'm sorry. It didn't match my coat." And he's like, "Oh, well, that's all right. Let me tell you the story behind it." And it turns out that, how just before you go home from college in the dorms at Christmas time, a lot of times they'll say, "Hey, clean out your room." Like you got to clean out your dorm room, and everybody gets rid of a lot of junk, and the janitorial staff is really going to go through and deep clean over that month you're gone. Well, he had found that someone had thrown away this perfectly good plaid scarf in the garbage.
Oh my gosh.
And he thought, well, scarf is on Marie's list, and he wrapped it up.
Practical.
Way to go, Steve.
Yes.
So anyways, I didn't feel bad about not wearing it anymore after that.
No.
That's so funny.
All right. Other than the wedding day or the birth of any of your children, what one day in your marriage would you most like to experience again?
As our daughter and son-in-law are kind of starting to look at buying a house, I think that would be it. Moving day into our first house. Just because it was such an exciting time. I think we had 2 children by that time. We'd been renting an apartment for 5 years. It was just so exciting to have a place you could do stuff to, fix it up, decorate it, and then knowing that you were just going to create all these memories there with your family.
That is a fun time. How about you, Mindy?
I put when Bryce and I hiked Mount LeConte near Gatlinburg, that was just such an exhilarating, beautiful day and exhausting, like that good kind of exhausted. I think it's like 5 miles straight up, it feels like. But had such a great time. Like it was so fun to accomplish that together, to be so exhausted together. And then we both were so worn out, tired, and sore. When we were done, we went to the grocery store and bought all this food. Because we were like, oh, popcorn sounds good. Oh, chocolate sounds good. Oh, like that sounds, and it was just a lot of fun.
Oh, that's neat. Yeah, I was thinking about, we've gone on quite a few vacations by ourselves in the summertime once our kids got old enough to go to summer camp. It would probably just be one of those days. One of the first ones we went to Montreal and we biked all around, which was really pretty. And then I just remember we ate a lot of fruit and cheese trays, which I absolutely love.
Wow.
And, I would just do any of those days again where you're by yourselves doing something fun and you get to eat foods that you don't normally have and you don't have anyone else to worry about. So those are always fun.
Oh, love it.
All right, here's a more serious one. What was it about your husband that made you realize that he was, in quotes, the one?
When we talked, he had the same love for the Lord, passions for living, ambition for life. Like we both just had these dreams that were so similar. And so when we talked, it was so easy because we just very much spoke the same language. When you meet that person, you're not trying to work at it. It just is there.
Mm-hmm. Julie, how about you?
Mine's similar to Mindy's. I feel like a lot of people would look at us and say that we're very different because he's very extroverted and I'm not. But we do have a lot in common. And that was just exciting to uncover as the more we talked, that we just had a lot of the same dreams and values and visions. And I just really admired him a lot. And I knew that I could learn a lot from him and that he was just my best friend. And I knew, I just didn't want to spend time with anybody else. And that was kind of the first person that I had ever felt that way about. And then going back to my answer, that my kids joke about being not romantic. I said he had faults I could live with and qualities that I didn't want to live without.
Oh, that's sweet. Now, kids, how could that not be romantic? Well, I thought that this question was interesting. I don't know if there was a moment. I'd always been kind of attracted to bad boys that probably weren't going to be very stable or stick around very long. And I think I just gotten to a point of maturity in my life where I felt more serious about it. I just tried to envision, would this person be somebody who I could live with for an entire lifetime? And I felt like they would stick by me for an entire lifetime.
Right. That's right.
All right. Where will your spouse say they had the best vacation with you? I think it would probably be any of the trips that we took while the kids were at camp.
Doesn't matter where it is.
No, I just think anywhere you go by yourself, especially after you've been in a long season of raising kids and not had the ability to get away.
Right.
For any extended period of time. I mean, sure, you might be able to get away for a night or two, but like to have a whole week where your kids are taken care of, I mean, anywhere you go is just going to be like a whole new experience. You feel like newlyweds again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I said Bermuda because that trip was a gift from my parents for when I graduated from pharmacy school. So we did not have kids yet. And I think that was something that made it more fun. A little bit different than what you said, Marie. It was like we didn't have any worries back at home. We were very carefree. It wasn't like we had to plan for their care while we were gone or wonder how they're doing or, or being a burden on anybody that was going to keep them. It was just totally carefree. It was just our first big trip together. So he always brings that trip up as something he would like to go back and do.
Yeah.
How fun. Well, mine, I put our 20th anniversary trip. We went to Cancun for a week. It just was so nice to kind of take a step out of life. The kids were taken care of at home. It was a busy season. We knew the next year we were going to be walking through a lot. Our daughter would be graduating and moving on the next year. And we just had this time. It's like time stood still for just long enough for us to just recount where we'd come from and dream about where we were going. And it was so fun, beautiful. And we just had a blast.
Oh, that's great. All right. So whom would you cast to play your spouse in a movie? I am interested to hear what you guys say about this.
This was actually pretty easy. And Bryce agreed with me too. I said Chris Evans, who is Captain America in the Marvel movies.
I have not seen any of those. Is he in
Are
anything
you
else
kidding
that
me?
you could let me
Marie,
know?
Are you kidding me?
No.
Oh my gosh.
I've seen it, but I can't remember.
Is he good?
Oh my
Is he good
gosh.
looking? Is he like a good looking character? Okay.
Yeah, he's cute. I mean, he's not like a drop dead gorgeous kind of person.
Okay.
Bryce really likes him for his muscles.
Okay.
All right. He's well built. So Bryce totally agreed with this one.
Okay.
But I really like Captain America and would choose him to play my husband because he kicks butt in khaki pants. Like, he is a very clean cut, honors God, honors women. Like, he's very respectful, upstanding citizen, but he's built and kicks butt and looks so classy doing it.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, I cannot believe you don't know who Captain America is.
I mean, of course I've seen the poster sign, but since I not having seen the movie, his face leaves me.
Oh my goodness.
All right, Julie, who is going to play John? I just cannot even think of who you would pick.
Oh my goodness. Well, you have to know who my favorite actor is. You don't know who that is?
I can't think of it.
Cary Grant, of course.
Aww.
Mr. Classy Dresser.
Oh, I can
and
see
his
that.
little chin dimple makes him a perfect match.
Aw.
Yes.
I cannot even picture what Cary Grant looks like either. I'm
Oh
picturing
my gosh,
I'm
Marie.
picturing Clark
Oh,
Gable.
no.
Does he look like Clark Gable?
Nothing
No.
like Clark Gable.
Okay.
Marie. Okay, this weekend you are to watch Captain America and you are to watch To Catch a Thief.
Okay. All right. Well, what was I thinking of? Okay, so when we were dating, I would have totally picked Richard Gere because my roommate and I, we used to joke. I don't know if we thought Steve looked like this or we just had a massive crush on Richard Gere, but Steve used to sometimes even sign like his postcards to me while I was working, over the summer and we weren't together. He'd sign it Richard Gere. So.
Oh, how funny.
But now Richard Gere has gotten quite a bit older. And so now if I was going to cast Steve and I could just pick anyone, I would probably pick the Poldark actor, Aidan Turner.
Oh. I should have thought more carefully. Yes.
Of course, he'd have to grow his hair out a little bit and,
And ride a horse.
Yes.
Yes.
Take some horseback riding lessons. All right. What's one thing your partner cannot resist doing?
John cannot resist eating out of the pot before dinner is ready.
Oh, John.
Or picking up the raw cookie off the pan before it goes in the oven.
Yeah.
Never can he resist.
I
I used to
see
say, we're not even going to set the table. We're just going to eat out of the pans off the stove.
that. Just with our fingers.
Yeah, I used to threaten him with that. But
So funny.
that sounded good to him.
Bryce
Mindy?
cannot resist eating ice cream.
Oh, I think you've said that before, how much he loves ice cream.
Loves ice cream. He will do so good. And if there's ice cream in the freezer, he's like, man, I'm just going to have to.
Steve and I were joking because we haven't talked about the Enneagram, but I'm sure a lot of listeners have heard of the Enneagram. And Steve's a 3. And their motto is work is fun. And he truly cannot resist working. Like,
Right.
It is fun for him. And he'll be pulling out his laptop and he'll be on his phone and he's working and it is fun. Okay, every wedding has some detail that doesn't go as smoothly as hoped. What was the biggest thing that went wrong at yours?
When they were introducing, may I now present Mr. and Mrs. Bryce Silman. Bryce and I turn around to face the crowd. There's one little step. Okay. So the first act as a married couple, he steps down while I stay up.
Oh,
And
no.
I'm like whispering, get up, get up, get up. Well, he doesn't move fast enough. Right. So I step down, but at the same time, he steps up.
Oh, no.
And so I'm like, get down, get down, get down. And, okay, so then he steps down. Like the crowd just starts heckling us. Like they are laughing so hard because we really look like we're just like shifting.
Did the photographer capture that?
Oh, it's on our wedding video.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would
Our
be funny.
VHS
Right.
video. Yeah.
Okay, Julie.
This wasn't really too bad. Our church was kind of off of the interstate. It had an exit and our church was right there off that exit. And there was a really bad wreck and it closed the exit.
Oh,
So our wedding time was 7:30, which is extremely late
that is late.
to start. We
Right.
didn't even start until 8 o'clock because people were saying we're coming, but there's a wreck.
Oh, wow.
So that was a little weird to know. Do we keep waiting or do we just go ahead and go?
Right.
So we did wait like half an hour. So
Oh,
got
my
a late
goodness.
start.
Yeah. Well, I was trying to think of like something that really happened at the wedding that went wrong, and there really wasn't. But your story about the VHS tape, Mindy, reminds me of something that I really regretted afterwards. So we did have a wedding video, maybe like 6 weeks after the wedding, or I don't know, maybe it was a month or two. My grandmother from California visited, and she wanted to look at the wedding video. So I showed her in our apartment on our VHS player. And then I forgot and left that video in the VHS. And in the meantime, my VCR was set to tape. Do you remember the show Mad About You?
Yes.
Oh my God.
It
With
was
Helen
set-
Hunt.
Yes, it was set to record Mad About You every Tuesday night.
Oh, no.
And I wasn't home when it did it, so I never thought about it. And when I came home and I started watching it, and then I was like, oh no, I didn't take out our wedding videotape. So the whole first half hour was taped over by Mad About You.
Oh, was it a good episode?
I don't even think I could bear to watch it.
Oh, I would be devastated.
I felt so bad. So anyways, we've never really I think we've shown maybe the last half to our kids. That was something I did regret afterwards. All right. What's the one trait of yours now, that annoys your spouse the most?
Leaving the bathroom sink counter a mess. It just drives him nuts because I'll leave everything out that I touched, and there's like toothpaste globs down in the sink, and
Nice.
and now that we're sharing a sink, I have to really be on my best behavior.
All right, Mindy, I want to know what your bad trait is.
I've mentioned before that he sometimes calls me a robot because I'm so consistent in my activities and even in my food choices, and when I get up and when I go to sleep and when I do this, and I have a routine for everything. It drives him crazy because he wants to come in and spend time with me, and I'm like, no, I have to do this. He's like, no, you don't have to do that. I'm like, no, I have to do this because then it leads to this, which leads to this, which leads to this. Right. So it's one thing he loves about me, but it does annoy him.
Yeah. Well, when I asked Steve this question, this is the one where he said, I'm not going to answer that and get into fight.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
So I don't know what he was really hiding, but he did say lack of spontaneity, which kind of goes along with you, Mindy.
Yeah.
Not being willing to just go with the flow, having to do things my way, in my time. Right. This is how I had it planned. We're going to go through these steps.
Right. Well, I think when you have a lot of children, you kind of figure out how things work best. Mm-hmm. So then you do not want to deter from things happening. And it's a train wreck. If one thing doesn't get done, that's going to mess up the rest of the day. So, right. Yeah, if I could just chill a little bit, that'd probably be good.
All right. If your spouse had a superpower, what would it be?
John has the unbelievable ability to change lyrics to songs on the radio in real time.
Oh.
And it is very, very funny. And it usually happens on road trips. So it is a superpower.
Oh, that would be fun. Yeah. How about you? How about Bryce?
Well, Bryce said, so we kind of took this question differently, but he said, I would choose to have strength and agility. Again, like Captain America.
Okay.
All right. But he does have strength and agility.
Just not quite to the level of Captain America.
Not to the superhero status.
He can't fly.
No.
Steve and I talked about it, and this really is a gift, and I forgot about it. He can pack a suitcase for the whole week in 5 minutes.
Wow.
And I could probably count on one hand the amount of times that he actually has said, oh, I forgot such and such. He really does remember it all, and he packs his suitcase in 5 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Okay. If your marriage was a sport, which one would it be?
I'd say doubles tennis because I picked the right partner.
Oh, that's so sweet. Mindy?
All right. I chose the 2-person bobsled.
Oh, and what's your thinking behind that?
Okay. I thought a lot about this, and I even looked up the sport, what it entails. So we had to choose to begin running the race together, like in sync, right? Because then you jump into this cozy little thing and turning together. We have to be in sync to like not flip and die. So I just thought of this 2-person bobsled racing down a hill at high speeds, sticking together, close together, in sync, trying to turn together.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. What's one of your husband's character strengths that you find unique and appealing?
Okay, Bryce has just impeccable integrity in everything that he puts his hand or mind to. And it could be the biggest of big problems, or it could be the smallest detail. He just does his absolute best with everything. And he always just sets the bar high. Like he does things well. So I appreciate his, like I said, impeccable integrity.
That's good. What does John have that is a character strength?
I would think it is his work ethic, and it's not that he's a workaholic. He can totally leave it behind. He loves being on vacation, but he's had some pretty rough hours and pretty demanding schedule, and I've never heard him complain about it, ever. And he's had to miss Christmas morning or Thanksgiving or a time the family was going to do something, and I'll complain about it. And he'll say, well, it's me that's missing out on the event. It's just kind of a fact of life. It's got to be done. I'm going to do it. And he just doesn't complain about it. And I always thought that was a good example to our kids and to me, because I don't know that I would be having that attitude myself.
Right. Yeah. Character strengths that you find unique and appealing. Well, I think most of the character strengths we find unique are ones that we probably don't have as much of ourselves. And that's why we find them appealing. There are a few things, but one that sticks out in my mind is I am just not good at breaking something down and explaining it to other people and like imparting knowledge. And a lot of people, come up to him and ask advice or like ask him about things that he doesn't even really necessarily have any expertise in, but he's just good at breaking it down and explaining it. And so I really always think that one of his gifts would have been a teacher, because he's very patient when he's teaching something. He doesn't get frustrated like I do. And
yeah, on game nights, he's always the one to explain the rules and how to play the game. And he is good at that.
What do you perceive your relationship will look like in 20 years?
Don't ask me to think about when I'm 73 and my husband's 77.
Okay.
I just don't want to go there.
Okay.
So funny.
I hope we'll still be alive.
I know. Anything,
tonsil hockey.
Any relationship is good at that point.
Right.
Well, I kind of had fun thinking about this. I was like, well, I can see us. We're going to retire in a warm place, first of all, so that we can go outside and walk every single day.
Oh, that'll be good.
We love to work in the yard, plant trees and flowers. And so I can see us walking around the yard every day, like talking about how much that flower has opened or how much that tree has grown or things like that, like really old people stuff we love.
Now that I'm thinking about it, my parents do that. They'll walk around their yard and check out the plants that they planted. So yes, I can see you doing that, Mindy.
Yes. And I think that we'll still be like exploring the world and traveling, I hope. And I can just see like taking turns visiting the kids and grandkids wherever they are.
Yes. All right. What do I perceive my relationship to look like in 20 years? Well, I think I will have had to pry Steve's job out of his hands. Because he loves to work, which is really fine with me. I'm glad that he loves to work. I'm not criticizing. I'm glad that he loves to work. But whenever we talk about retirement, I just can't picture him retired. I think he'll go stir crazy. He will have had to have taken up some other activity for sure.
Yeah.
But what would we be doing? I mean, I hope that this would be my dream, that I would own like a little condo or beach house and spend like the coldest months of the year there, and could invite my kids down and all that, and then like live closer to my kids during all the warmer months of the year. But who knows? But I definitely hope that my kids live nearby. Hint, hint to whoever's listening.
Hint, hint.
All right, before we go, now that we've answered all these questions, let's end on the happy note of how we all met.
Marie, let's hear from you first.
Okay. So Steve and I met in college. We actually took a course together. I think I was a freshman and he was a sophomore. So we were taking a computer course. Neither one of us needed computers for our major, I don't think. I for sure didn't. It was just a gen ed. And the class was incredibly boring. But there was one cute guy a few rows to the side who I did notice. And Steve said later, when we started dating about a year later, that he followed me back to my dorm a couple times, but didn't get up the courage to say anything. So I just thought that was really funny. But how we really ended up actually meeting was my roommate dated his suite mate. And one night she was saying something about the guy she was dating and something about his suite mates. And I said, oh, I think the one is cute. I had him in a class, you know. So, of course, she told the person she was dating, his name was Rob. And then Rob told Steve. And then it was like, okay, well, she thinks I'm cute. I think she's cute, too. So then they just kind of like, I think we met maybe for dinner in the dining hall as a group or something. And it kind of progressed from there. So it was a true 1990s college romance.
Oh, my goodness.
Including a scarf out of the trash can.
Including a scarf out of the trash can from dorm cleanup. All right, Mindy, how'd you meet Bryce?
All right. Well, we met at church, but we were not in the college group. We were in the youth group.
Scandalous.
And so when we first met, I still had braces.
No way, Mindy. We need
Yes.
a picture of that, Mindy. I need to post that in the show notes or on Instagram.
I'm pretty sure all of our pictures are back in Tennessee, so I just cannot get to those right now. So
all right, Mindy's mom, I know you're listening.
Oh, no.
You need to go through your photo albums, find a picture, post it on Facebook. I will share it.
Marie, you're so bad. She's looking right now. I guarantee it. So we met in youth group, and then we met a couple of different times. He was transitioning to college as a freshman, and I was coming in as a senior in high school. My family had just moved to Missouri. He was in the National Guard, so he would come back and visit the church once a month. Well, I kept hearing all these things about Bryce, you know, like from other people in the youth group. And he had a great reputation at our church. And he had been a leader in the youth group before he went to college. And so when I started high school as a senior, I knew what it was like to be the new girl. And this homecoming dance was coming up. And I'd heard that these 3 different guys were going to try to ask me to the dance. Well, all 3 of them, I did not trust their reputation. I was like, well, I need to get ahead of this. I don't want to react to someone asking me. I'd rather go with somebody I feel safe with. And so I started thinking, like, who would that be? So, of course, I think, oh, Bryce, like he has this great reputation. We'd met a few times, but I called him up and I actually asked him out on our first date.
Oh,
and
wow.
I know, another scandal, right? He actually said no.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, well, okay then. So we hung up. Well, the phone starts ringing as soon as I hang up. And I'm almost not going to answer it because I'm kind of mystified, you know? But I answer it and he was like, hey, would you go to your homecoming dance with me? He asked me out.
Oh, that's so cute.
And to this day, he will say that was the stupidest thing he's ever done.
That's so funny.
He's like, I thought I was being so cool, but that was so dumb.
Like if it was a time of cell phones, out of embarrassment, you might have just hit decline.
Exactly. Oh, I know, right?
Yeah.
Or left his text message read but unanswered, right?
That's so funny.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah. So we started dating after that.
Yeah. All right. How did you guys meet, Julie?
I was in college and John was in medical school and we went to the same church. But our church was really, really big. We probably had a couple hundred college students. So we didn't know each other at all. And my friend Ginger and I were going to go to a college party that night that the church was hosting. And we really didn't want to go. So we flipped a coin.
Oh.
And the coin said we should go. So I said, oh, let's flip it again. Do best 2 out of 3. I think it ended up 3 out of 5. So then the coin said we must go to this party. So by the time we get there, it's like 9 o'clock or 9:30, and it's kind of breaking up. There's only 2 or 3 people there, and John is one of them. He is taking apart his stereo equipment because he brought his stereo.
Life of the party.
Yeah, and it was a tacky tourist party, like where you dressed up. I just remember looking at his clothes and thinking, I had no idea what he really looked like because he was dressed up. And my friend Ginger first talked to John, and she said, "Hey, Julie, he's in medical school. You need to talk to him," because I was at the point where I was starting to apply. That's what I wanted to do. So of course I was asking him all kinds of questions, talking to him. Probably talked for an hour or so. Then the next morning at church, he found me and asked me out for the next weekend.
What was your first date?
We went out to dinner at Houston's.
Okay.
Do you know Houston's?
No.
It's a great restaurant.
Oh.
And then we went to see a movie, and
what was it? Silence of the Lambs?
Hannah and Her Sisters, a Woody Allen movie.
Oh.
And I just remember thinking, this is the worst movie I have ever seen.
Uh-oh.
And it's so funny because John, I'll find him just watching that movie. He watches it over and over again.
Oh, how funny.
He kind of likes Woody Allen movies, though. I mean, it's quirky. It's really quirky. I did not like it. And
did you pretend that you liked it after, since it was your first date?
Not really. I mean, we talk about it. He was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I know that wasn't very good or whatever." But we kind of joke about it now. Like, I can't believe you still went out with me a second time after that movie.
Right.
Oh, and this is the other thing he did. I'm sure I don't think he'll mind.
Okay.
We were in Houston's, and I think the check had already come. We'd paid, and he has something stuck in his tooth.
Oh, no.
Okay. Most people would grab a toothpick. He takes his fork and he kind of starts scraping around on his tooth.
Oh no.
Okay. I thought, I'm just going to overlook this. This is,
was it still one of the faults you could have lived with the rest of your life?
Obviously so.
She's debating while she's watching him pick his teeth with a fork.
Okay. So then we get out to the car. Obviously that little piece of food is not out. I don't see it, but
okay.
So he pulls out his car key.
No way.
And he kind of like sticks it on the side of his tooth. Just kind of.
Oh no.
And I think, okay, I've never seen anything like this. Never seen anybody do this. But I'm just gonna hang around and see what happens. So that is still a big joke. Is he'll stick his car key up to his teeth sometimes.
Oh, that's so funny.
So, question is, did you kiss him?
That's what I was wondering.
Still in his tooth.
I did not kiss him on our first date.
Oh, did he even try? Did he try?
Nope.
Okay. All right. I mean, you'd have to have a lot of courage to try and kiss someone after you've picked your tooth with a fork and some keys.
He had a lot of self-confidence there.
Okay, so
that he does not like.
He met you wearing the tacky tourist outfit. Then he's picking his fork, picking his keys, but still worked. So moral of that is, don't judge a guy by your first date, or maybe even your second. I mean, he could be a little nerdy or gawky or just awkward, but he might improve.
Gotta wait till those true characteristics shine out.
Right. All right. Happy Valentine's Day to our spouses, and happy Valentine's Day to all of our listeners. And we hope that everybody has a day filled with love. Friends, we're so glad you joined us today. If you enjoy Midlife Matters, we hope you'll tell a friend. Show them how to find us on their phone and hit the free subscribe button so that they never miss an episode. They can also download and listen to each episode right from our website, midlifematterspodcast.com. We'd love to hear from you. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Midlife Matters Podcast. You can also email us at midlifematterspodcast@gmail.com. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you back here next Wednesday. Bye.